Hello, everybody. I'm here today with Damien Yvray, who is lead game designer at Ubisoft Paris Mobile and lead on the latest entry in the auto chess genre, Might and Magic Chess Royale. Welcome, Damien.
Hello, Joseph.
It's great to have you on with us. And, you know, it's been a while since we met back in Beijing when we were both at Fun Plus. But really glad to see you're now at Ubisoft and working on a very interesting project. So just to kick things off, maybe can you talk to us a little bit about your role at Ubisoft and the auto chess game you have recently launched?
Yeah, sure. So in a nutshell, I'm the, as you said, the lead designer on Might and Magic Chess Royale. So it was actually launched in a live test, like soft launch in November. And then we did the worldwide release at the end of January. We had some significant updates since then. So basically, Chess Royale, Might and Magic Chess Royale is three things. The first one is the Might and Magic brand. For us, it was important to try to revive this brand because it's a very good one. Like everyone is in the team really like this brand. And on top of that, it's two major tweaks for the auto battler genre. The first one is we made it for mobile first. So what was very clear since the beginning was that it had to be extremely fast, like much faster than any auto battler in the market at the moment. So it's in average 10 minutes. When you do a top one is more around the 15, but in average it's around 10 minutes, so extremely fast compared to our competitors, which are like 40, 50 minutes. And the second thing, the second major tweak is the 100 players. So you don't fight against 7 other players. It's actually a pool of 100 players, and you have to be the top one, like in a battle royale.
Great. And just to dig a little bit deeper in terms of your kind of journey and how you wound up at Ubisoft, just to take a little bit of a step back, could you talk to us about that journey as a game designer to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. So actually, everything started in the 9 years ago. I started directly in the mobile market. I never did like HD or AAA games. It was social game since the beginning. Actually, back then it was not mobile games. It was mostly on Facebook, but most of the people on Facebook were like quickly moved to iOS and mobile in general. And so I started in Digital Chocolate, where I mostly significantly worked on Galaxy Life, who was a kind of Clash of Clans, but a bit earlier. Then I moved to Wuga, where I worked on an amazing project which was called Perspero, which is still live and performing super well. Amazing project, like extremely healthy, amazing team. Amazing company as well. Wuga is super nice with a lot of talented people. So then after Wuga, we met in Beijing at Fun Plus. I didn't stay for a long time, only a year, because China was China extremely interesting, but very intense as a personal experience. And I also wanted to get back in Europe. So then I moved back to Barcelona, which was actually with the former colleagues from Digital Chocolates. So I made a kind of loop. So it was in Omnidron, where we worked on. So the most significant project was Titanfall, which was a MOBA, like a light MOBA. I stayed there for 2 years, and then I just joined Ubisoft something like 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago.
Okay.
I think I mostly came for the amazing IPs they have. Also, they of course resonate to me because it's French IP, so you know I know them super well. Ubisoft is in my mind since I'm a kid, like I think any French designer. So I mostly came for the IPs, and also super cool feeling with all the people in the studio.
So Damien, speaking about Ubisoft and about some of the IPs that Ubisoft has, when I think about Ubisoft, at least on the console side, I think of shooter titles like Division 2, Ghost Recon, then games like Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed, For Honor, games like that. So definitely a really solid lineup on that side. And then on the mobile side, I feel like there's been a lot of titles, but really the ones that come to mind, at least for me, are Hungry Shark, Growtopia, because at the time it was so unique, South Park. Then there was the news about the acquisition of Green Panda on the hyper casual side. And I actually got a chance to meet Shreyas from Green Panda during the Iron Source Game Fest conference. But could you tell us more about that side, the mobile portfolio, in terms of like investment, general strategy that Ubi has for mobile kind of moving into the future?
Yeah, so actually, I don't think I'm the good person to talk about strategy in general, just because it's not my area of expertise, and we prefer to have these topics to be held by the people in the editor and so on. But the only thing I can tell is that Ubisoft in AAA or in mobile is mostly meant to have games for a very wide range of people and genres, and I mean, yeah, that's the only real strategy I can tell you about. But that can be a very interesting topic podcast to do with some people who are a bit more into these topics. Yeah.
No worries. Can you talk more about, let's say, the mobile development side in terms of, let's say, number of studios or team sizes or things like that?
Yeah, I hope I will not forget any, but Ubisoft has studios in the most parts of the world. So there are studios in Shanghai, there are studios in Abu Dhabi, some small studios in San Francisco, of course, lots of studio in France, Paris, Montpellier, and so on. Some big studios as well in Canada. And of course, like for future games of London, which are working on the Hungry Shark, as you said. So it's, I would say, around 10 studios. I don't know the workforce in mind. I don't have this in mind, but yeah, it's around 10 studios all around the world.
Oh, great! Yeah, that sounds pretty ambitious with the whole sort of global network there.
Yeah.
So moving back to, let's say, the game, it'd be great to talk more about Might and Magic Chess Royale. And for me, one of the most interesting aspects of games is always like the origin story. So maybe we can start there. Where did the idea come from to actually work on this kind of game with this kind of combination? And how did the project get off the ground at Ubisoft?
So actually, everything happened pretty naturally. So on one side, the organization in Ubisoft is you have a big HQ team who is very like managing different all the portfolio, and there are all the production teams, pretty classic. And then what happened basically was that so the mods in Dota 2 came out in 19th of January, I think, or 2nd of January, around those lines in 2019. At this moment, I think the week after, everyone in the team we had at the moment was playing the game. And what we realized was that actually a lot of people in the HQ was also playing the mod. So everyone was actually looking at this and saying, "Oh my, there is something cool. There's something nice in this project." And basically, what happened was, on one side, we were in between projects, and on the other side, the HQ was also really looking at this genre. So basically, back then, nothing was really sure. Will this genre become extremely big? We never knew, because it was just the beginning of a genre. But what we agreed with the HQ was that at least there was something that we could try. So maybe it's going to be big, maybe it's going to fail, but at least we'll give it a shot. And that's how we all align to say, okay, let's try something as quick as possible. Let's try to make it happen. If it fails, too bad, but at least we'll give it a shot. So everything was pretty natural, actually, compared to other projects, also in other companies where you have a lot of gating process. For us, since everybody knew the genre, knew the game, everything was natural.
Got it. And so you had a lot of people within the company and there who like the game, who like playing the game, but was there any specific opportunity that you saw in terms of like a +1 or any specific sort of change that you thought you could bring to the genre?
Yeah, so what was very clear at the beginning was that we wanted to be mobile first, and by being mobile first, the first thing we had to tackle was to make the game much shorter. Actually, that was the biggest challenge, because also back then we didn't know if we could make it happen, because when you have something 40 minutes, to make it shorter, it's also it's a great challenge. Like many people try, for instance, in the MOBA genre, many people try to make it to make MOBAs much shorter, but so far only really Tencent managed to do this. So back then it was one challenge that actually we overcame pretty quickly. It was pretty fast. But yeah, it was mobile first. Like 10 minutes was the very first thing that came to our mind.
Got it. And so you had folks at the studio that liked this new genre. You had folks at HQ that liked it. So can you tell us a little bit about how the green light process works at Ubisoft, or how it worked for you? What was sort of management's reactions or HQ's reaction to this, and how did that kind of play out in terms of getting everything moving?
Yeah, so I can't tell for the other teams and other studios. Like every project is very different. Some projects are more ambitious. Some projects are meant to be faster, and we're mostly on the fast track. So what we, as I said, what we wanted to do was minimize the risk while we saw a great potential. So minimizing the risk was also meaning we had to be much faster in the production process, and that meant also in the green light process we had to be a bit like faster and try to not have lots of processes. Like in most of the companies you have very clear gating processes, and that's most of the case at Ubisoft. But for us, since we wanted to be that fast, we had to a bit bypass this process and be as fast and smooth as possible, so the team could focus on just making the game as fast as possible.
Got it. And by the way, I think you guys did an excellent job from a production perspective, and I personally really enjoy the game. But I think the big question on everyone's mind, that's sort of, from a PM and sort of exec perspective, has to do with the current competitive landscape and what Might and Magic is bringing to the table. And you kind of alluded to some of the differences, but can you dive a little bit deeper in terms of the big differences in terms of the game design choices you made relative to the other auto chess games in the market?
Yeah. First, you're right, because to say that it's very competitive, it's really big companies and big projects and big brands in front of us. So it's definitely extremely challenging. But so far, I think we nailed something with the 10 minutes thing. On mobile, I think it's crucial. We saw it on many games. It has to be extremely fast, and I think that's really the main thing that makes us very different from any other competitor. It's extremely fast, and most importantly, it's meant to be very fast since the beginning. It's not cutting half of the experience. Right from the beginning, we knew it had to be 10 minutes, but it was not like cutting the ends or cutting the beginning or make things artificially faster. We wanted to have exactly the same experience, but more concentrated in a way. So having these 10 minutes, I think on mobile, it's the number one thing, which is the more powerful, at least on our side. Also, beside this, we have the fact that it's 100 players. And actually, it sounds like just a marketing thing at first, but actually, it makes everything very, very different. We used to have the game as 10 players, and then we just for fun, we tried to have 100 players just to test, and it really blew up. Like the fun, all the excitement, it became really, really different. It was not just the HP bar going down and so on. It was about being the last one. This very battle royale feeling. So these two things, I think, they make a very, very big difference from our competitors.
Got it. And you mentioned that one of the biggest innovations was taking that 40 minutes to 10 minutes. And so for some of the folks in the audience who haven't had a chance to play the game, and for those who just want a little bit more insight from a gameplay perspective, how did you do this? What did you do specifically to take that 40 down to 10?
Actually, it's not one thing in particular. Okay. I think it's the combination of many tweaks. So one thing you need to have in mind is that everything we do in production is very data driven. And when I say data, I mean like actual data of the game, which means that extremely quickly we can iterate on many rules. So all the UI, all the systems will adapt to this new data, which means that we can really test a lot. So what we could do was changing the amount of units, changing your HP, changing the amount of players, changing the DPS of units. So we could make all these very small changes extremely fast. And what really helped us as well was that the whole team was on board. So the whole team exactly understood what we were going and why why we were doing things. So that could help us to have feedback loop like very quickly. For instance, like one thing in particular, for instance, we could tweak the goals extremely quickly, and we could do this because okay, we're data driven, but also because all the team was on board. So I could get the feedback extremely in a very fast iteration process, and all these things together. We could try them because it was data driven. We could try them because we could get the feedback very quickly, and that made us like progress extremely fast. But yeah, to answer your question, it's a mix of many things. We have less units. The gold is we have less gold management. We have shorter fights. We have only 3 HP against 100. So it's a mix of all these things together.
Got it. And auto chess really sort of burst onto the scene and grew really quickly, both as a mod to Dota 2, and then especially once these other companies started building the game, like Riot launching Teamfight Tactics. What do you think it is about auto chess that players love so much? Why does everyone love this genre so much?
Well, I think auto chess is working on one thing which is very powerful, which is basically draft mode. You can see also a lot of different games like this. I have Slay the Spire in mind, for instance, or some modes in Hearthstone. This draft mode is kind of trendy. But I think it's also because on top of that, auto chess does one thing which is very smart, which is you have all these drafts, so you have to adapt your strategy, which also means that it makes the gameplay very replayable because one game is always different. And on top of this, you also kind of control the randomness of the game. You know, with the pool of units, you have some choices to make, and so it's not only randomness, but it's about mastering the randomness, basically. So all this draft mode, I think it's a concept, or at least a pattern in game design, which is extremely powerful these days because it's very replayable, and you know, it brings all this excitement of randomness, and all with the tier 2, tier 3, it just blows up with the auto chess, I think.
So Damien, given the competitive nature of this auto chess, auto battler type of genre, what do you think it's going to take to unseat the current players in the market?
Tough question. I'm not into this kind of thing. It's mostly Eric. I think Eric could answer this. I can't because I'm so much into this genre that I don't know. But I think at least with the fact that it's 10 minutes and the fact that it's 100 players, I think at least we give it a good shot. But to know how to unseat TFT or Underlords, I have no idea.
Okay. And what do you think about some of those key competitors in the marketplace? Is there a favorite, or do you have any specific thoughts on any of those guys?
Actually, I think all of them are have something very unique. For instance, TFT, they have pretty very good idea. So they have an amazing brand that they capitalize on it. The brand is amazing, and they also have some pretty cool features like the carousel. I'm very excited about the galaxies as well. So they definitely have some very cool ideas. Underlord has amazing UX. They also have a pretty good IP. The introduction of the Underlord is also very interesting. The last update they made is quite impressive. And then on mobile only, Auto Chess Origins is doing a lot of good thing in UX. They have very good ideas as well in the meta, lots of customization. So like, which one is my favorite? It would be hard to pick, because they all have very different ideas, which are all very interesting. So I couldn't find one, but they definitely have all their cool things like to compete.
And,
Yeah.
and speaking of the current market leader, Riot with TFT, I think they announced that mobile launches this month. Any forecasts or any thoughts on the mobile version?
Well, I think they're gonna fail, of course, but given the brand, it's will probably. I'm very interested to see what they will do, because when I look at Riot for all these years, I was waiting and expecting them to do something on mobile. So now that they take the step to do it, I'm very interested to see how it's going to work. I have no idea, because I'm really not into forecasting. That's not my thing. But I'm really looking forward, because there is this huge market. And I think in China, for instance, they have a huge community, and mobile is very strong in China. So I'm really looking forward to see what they do in mobile. But they will probably discover a new market for them. So very interesting to watch. Yeah.
And I know you don't like forecasting, but just to push you a little bit more on this, in terms of like longer term in the future, who do you think, do you have any thoughts on who wins out, or what does it take to win out in the longer term, sort of the long game, as this genre sorts of plays out on mobile?
Yeah. Actually, one thing to note is that I think this genre by nature is pretty niche compared to many other genres. So if we're gonna see someone winning the fights, I don't think it will be in the next few weeks or months. It's gonna take time, because it's the type of game which will grow and grow and grow over time. But I will not do any forecast, because I suck at it. But I don't think we will see this. We will not see the winner in a month or two. I think it will take at least a year to see someone really dominating the markets. If actually someone really performs very well, because as I said in the beginning, it's a risky market. We don't know how many players are interested by this. So maybe there will be no winner. Maybe there will be one big, but it's still really unsure. I think it's still very open.
Right. And then I thought we could talk about the big question mark from a business perspective that everyone's talking about, which is really about monetization. And it seems like, many of these games in this auto chess, auto battler category aren't making much money, despite the popularity and the download volume, certainly. So Teamfight Tactics, as an example, massive player base, they just haven't been able to monetize strongly. Hearthstone seems to have actually cannibalized its audience. So can you talk about the monetization strategy or the eventual monetization strategy for Might and Magic Chess Royale?
Well, of course, I can't go into details now. Obviously, actually, we could even consider doing another podcast about monetization in 6 months or so. But yeah, monetization is a huge challenge, and I think even Riot and Valve didn't know how to answer yet. You can see in terms of monetization, I think no one nailed it yet. Yeah, it's really hard to talk about this, because I can't say much, but it's a very huge challenge. The way we saw this was, we knew that we had challenges, at least in the gameplay. So since we wanted to be fast and we wanted to be very focused, the team is not so great, like so big. So monetization was definitely not the priority for the first release. So that's why we wanted to first focus on the gameplay, doing something great that the player will like, and focus on retention KPIs, and then move on to monetization when we have something very stable. Because yeah, as you said, it's really a huge topic. It's definitely one which is the trickiest in the genre.
Yeah. And just having the opportunity to talk to someone like you as a lead game designer in this category, and I know you don't like predictions, but if we were to talk about, so we can avoid the monetization stuff, but in terms of maybe other innovations that you might expect to see or other influences that you might expect to see in terms of this genre in the future, do you have any thoughts on that?
Mhm. Yeah, it's also hard to talk about this without giving information about our future update. But I think monetization will be the key.
Okay.
All the what I saw in the with the competitors, that's they had a big fights of cool feature and re-engaging features. Underlord like pushed so many interesting feature, and same for TFT. But then what will make the difference will be monetization. So I think the first who will really nail this will nail the market. It's not so much about trends. I think we'll keep seeing updates about like new units, new content, some new features like galaxies and so on. But at the end of the day, the one who will win will probably be the one who will really nail how to monetize this genre, because that's the main challenge.
Got it. And then just maybe more from a broad game design perspective, since you are a lead game designer, can you talk to us about maybe any other mobile gaming trends that we should be watching for or looking at that you're seeing in the market right now?
Yeah, so last year I think for me one really big how to say, like, yeah, kind of shift happened was to me it was mostly one thing, which is Arch Hero. So it's only a game, but to me it's a game that shows a trend. So I don't know if it's a trend. I don't know if they found a market. I don't know if they created the markets, but what I saw was that with the where they positioned in the market was very unique, very new, and I think it showed everyone that this market existed. To me, and to me, what is interesting is that it can be it looks like it's the merge of two kind of people. To me, people interested in Arch Hero or games into the like super casual markets can come from being like a hardcore or mid-core player, but willing to have something a bit more simple. I think I was into this kind of audience, like playing very mid-core games. And at some point I didn't have time, but then I found something which was kind of similar to this. And in the other end, I think there are many people who never played like 2 or 3 years ago, who played a lot of hyper casual, but at some point got a bit bored of these very, very simple mechanics. So they went to kind of super casual. So to me, this trend of having super casual games really in between mid-core or even casual and hyper casual, I think this will be a huge group of players. That's almost for sure to me.
Got it. And then maybe just bringing it back to Ubisoft, can you speak to what we can expect from Ubisoft, at least in terms of on the mobile side in the future?
Not much. It's I would love to. I would really love to, because there are very exciting things coming out. But yeah, I cannot tell much. Okay. I would love to.
Okay. And finally, just to wrap up our conversation, do you have any shout outs, announcements, or anything you'd like to say to the audience?
First, play Chess Royale, because I think it's a very good game. Super very well designed, not super well balanced, but super well designed. And the second thing is we're recruiting lots of people on every area. So if you are interested in working in very cool projects, very cool IPs, then just go to ubisoft.com and you will see a lot of opportunities.
Got it.
With very good teams.
And then if anyone wanted to reach out to you specifically, are there any future conferences or events or ways in which people can contact you?
I think conferences are a bit compromised for the next few months.
That's true. Yeah.
But no, nothing planned at the moment.
Okay. All right, great. Well, in that case, thank you very much for your time, Damien. Cool. And
thank you, Joseph.
I will also ask you in the future to see if we can follow up on a monetization conversation.
Definitely. Yeah. I would love to.
All
the thinking behind is very interesting. So and I will be able to tell a bit more. So it's going to be less frustrating.
Awesome. All right.
Cool.
Thanks a lot, Damien.
Bye. Thank you, Joseph.
Bye.
Cool.